All right, guys, welcome back. I know I didn't keep going through the whole build process of this thing. I was hoping to kind of film everything, building the chassis, but that just kind of got away from me. So just want to give a little update, and I'd like to I like to document everything, from here on out on the rest of this build, and just I really need to stay on it. So that's kind of my goal, is to keep pumping out some videos, and just kind of every little step from here on out, just kind of take some videos and hopefully some of it helps. Some of it, you guys might take away from it. If not, just something cool to watch. So we'll kind of go over the chassis a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So it's started as a 25.2 as a 6.0 cert. I did go off a 25.3 book. That would have certed to a 650, but I just ended up going off a 25.2 6.0 cert. So everything is solid there. I did use a Smith Racecraft front end. I kind of wish I would have went with struts, but I already purchased the front end. So I already had it, and I was like, you know what, might as well use it. So I made a couple little adjustments to it. Took a couple things off to kind of fit my application here. I cut off their shock mounts there, and I welded on new ones so I could use a long travel coilover. Gonna probably have to make some modifications here. I'm probably gonna have to cut this piece out right here, just so the shock fits, and then kind of wrap a 1-inch tube around there just to make sure that's strong and structurally sound. I did not use their motor mounts. I made my own because I wanted to put the motor up higher, and I also pushed the motor back 10 inches. So at ride height, the motor to the center of the crank shaft is 15 inches, and from the mid plate to the axle center line is 83 inches. So I moved the motor up and back, just to kind of help with weight transfer and get some of that weight going back, because I'm shooting for 50-50 weight bias here, because this car is mostly going to be on crappy surfaces, the no prep surfaces. Might do some radial stuff with it, but mostly it's going to be on a slick. So that's pretty much the front end. I also did cut off the mounts here that bolt to the body. So this is the inner frame rail. So I just bent this over and attached it to the front here. So that's just the inner frame rail, and then we have plenty of room up top, or I should say in the bottom. And that way I can put like a belly pan in there to catch the oil if something happens. But we'll do that later. And then I have plenty of room for the oil pan, all that other stuff in here. So that's front end. Working on the firewall. I'm just waiting on some steering column stuff to show up, some pedals, and a couple other smaller things, so I can mock it all up with the cardboard, and then we can take those final templates and move them to the sheet metal, and they'll line up perfect. So that's the front. This is the floor structure here. So I ended up going, so you can go multiple ways with this dash bar. You can go 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, 1 5/8. The only thing that changes is when you go to a smaller bar, the gussets change. So you have to add gussets from here to here, and a couple other places, I believe, depending on what the bar size is. Well, to me, I don't like a bunch of gussets around there. A few is okay, but when you start adding a bunch of the gussets and stuff, I just think it looks weird. Plus, it's the front of the car. If you have an impact, like, you're right here, your feet, everything is right here. So I want that as strong as possible. So I just went with an 1 5/8 bar up on the dash bar, and then that way you only have to run these 2 gussets here, and that's it. And then you obviously have to run these gussets up here, and then over there, and back here. So that's that. The floor structure is pretty simple. There are a few things that I would change now that I know that I would change on the next one, or if I ever build another one, or do another one, or redo this car, I should say, is these 6A and 6B bars. I have them coming out straight like this. What a lot of guys do is they'll angle them to go up to that bar right there. And then they'll take this bar, which I believe this is number 39 bar. This one will come back over here. So instead of just coming straight across over, they put an angle to it. And it makes it a lot easier when you're doing the firewall too, because you can just run the firewall like sheet metal along that bar. But what I'm gonna have to do now is, since I have that, is I'm gonna have to either bend the sheet metal and attach it under here and then just notch it for these bars, or get a bracket to where I can bend it and just, you know, screw that sheet metal there and then just weld it to that bottom bar there. But yeah, that's one thing I changed. The other thing I changed too is, so this is a single frame rail car. So double frame rail, you would have these bars here come up and attach to where, you know, around the mid plate. So this is single frame rail. It just goes down to the inner frame rail right there, and that's it. I know Tim McAmis, he's on his build series on his YouTube. He did that 69 or 68 Camaro, whatever it is, just like this. And I like that, but now that I see it and I see other cars, I kind of wish that I bent up a tube and just went up and over, rather than make that come down in like a handlebar and then bend these tubes up. This isn't bad. It looks clean. I just think the other way is just a little bit better, as far as like putting the sheet metal in there, attaching it, making it all sealed up right. Plus you can take these bars. These bars are super easy to attach. You just attach all those bars around the firewall to that, basically around the mid plate mount right there. So that's one thing I would change right there. And I'm not really looking for this to be like a super stiff car. I think it's going to be pretty stiff, but it's obviously not going to be stiff like a double frame rail car. But I think it'll do its job. We got driveline loops in there. And then we got seat mounts. So this is how I'd mounted the seat. I kind of like this. The only thing is it's a pain in the butt to get the seat in and out because it's so freaking tight. So I just went and got some bungs and took some 7/8 tube and just welded them to the bungs into the bars. And then we just mounted. So I got one there, one on the other side, and then the other one up there like that. And then we got another bar back there for the back of the head. So that's how we mounted the seat, and I think that's gonna be more than enough. And it is up and off the chassis. Let me see if I can get it up and off the chassis just a little bit. So I didn't want to sit too high. I also didn't want to sit on the frame rails and on the floor. So that's that, and then we'll move towards the back here. So we have Tin Soldiers low prep radial brackets on this. Awesome brackets. I can't say enough good things about them. Like, they're freaking awesome. So this is how we mounted them in the car. I got 2 bars, I believe those are 3/4, going to the back of the bracket, and then we just welded the top there and welded the top down there. Now, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll connect this bar here. They'll just leave this connected, or they'll put a dip in it. But when I had made this idea up when the motor was 93 inches from the back of the mid plate to the axle center line. And the further the motor is forward, the more the drive shaft kind of dips down low in here, just depending on ride height. So my thinking was, just cut this out, brace it up real nice, and that way it's open and you don't have to worry about putting a drop in there, or, you know, worrying about the drive shaft hitting or anything like that. But now that I moved the motor back, as you can kind of see, it's going to be a pretty short drive shaft, so I don't think we're going to have any concern with that. So that's kind of my thinking and reasoning on that. Probably would do it different next time. I have a few other ideas that I've tossed around and kind of saved in my head for maybe the next one. And then this wishbone brackets, those are from Hammer Concepts, and then that's a 10 soldier wishbone. They built that. And then we got a 10 soldiers anti-roll bar. And then I ended up buying the 4-link bars off Tim McCamus. So this is the 1 5/8 lower bar and the 1.5 upper bar. Just wanted to have them pretty stout. I know some guys have 1 3/8, 1.5. But I figured, you know, whatever I'm going to decide to do with this car, whatever type of racing I want to do, I want to have everything stout to where it's going to, you know, be able to handle anything and everything I throw at it. The other thing I would change too is, so this bar that comes off, I'm going to call this the 4-link crossbar right here. This bar that goes up right here, I kind of wish I put a little bit more angle in it upwards. Because as you can see, that rear end is pretty dang close. Let me see if I can get a better shot of this here. Let me sneak over here. So rear end's pretty close. Obviously that's the lowest ride height I can get. So that's as far up the rear end will go pretty much. I'm not gonna have it that low. I'll probably raise the ride height up a little bit. But you know, when you have, a lot of it depends on too, is if the car's gonna squat or if it's gonna separate. So a lot of that depends on that too. So I'll have to take into account for that later on down the road. But kind of wish I put just a little bit more angle in that bar upwards a little bit so I can just have a little bit more clearance right there. But yeah, so, and then we just have our plates here, and then I just put a nut cert in there in the rocker panel and just put a bolt. So we have a bolt on all 4 sides here. So if I want to take the body off again, which I'm most likely going to paint this or clear coat it, not really just decided what I want to do with it just yet, we can pull the body off of it. So, all right. So yeah, so we'll move towards the back here. We'll look at the driver's side here real quick. So this is driver's side here. These bars right here are not needed. The only reason I put those in there is DSP makes some head restraints or some head paddings that is gonna bolt in here, and this is gonna support the side of your head. And I think those are awesome, so that's why I put those bars in there, just to clamp those head pads on there. But yeah, it's a little tight, but we made it work. And I did angle the main hoop. I did angle this main hoop 8 degrees back. And it's a little further back. I kind of wish I pushed it just a little bit more back, but it's angled 8 degrees back at us, you know, backwards. So that's the driver's side. We'll move towards the back. So the back here, so those bolts right there are for the rear bumper. So those bolts go into the rear bumper brackets, and this is the rear cross of the chassis here. So the rear of the chassis bolts into where the bumper is of the car. So all points are pretty much bolted, and they will get welded in eventually, but for right now everything's just bolted in. But yeah, so this is the chassis here. I didn't do a lot of crazy bracing back here because pretty much everything from shocks back is just supporting the back of the car. You don't really need a bunch of stuff. But yeah, everything turned out really good, I think. So yeah, we're just gonna keep plugging away on it. This is the next project here that we're working on. I cut this part out of the rear trunk lid and welded it in here. So pretty much we're gonna have the wing mount about right here. And then that way we can pull the deck lid off and on without having to remove the wing and everything. And that way the wing is stationary. It doesn't move. It won't come off the car. It's bolted on. And then we can still remove part of the deck lid to get to everything back here. We're gonna have pretty much back here, we're going to have a puke tank. Not sure if we're going to have a radiator back here yet or not. Haven't decided on that. And we're going to have a 20-pound fire system in it. So we're going to have 2 10-pound fire bottles right in there. And but yeah, so that way we can access everything back here. So next video will kind of be on finishing this up, which this one has turned out to be pretty fun. We've discovered some fun stuff with this. So it looks like this corner right here has quite a bit of lead. Somebody did some lead work there. I'm not sure if there was a dent or whatnot, if there was, if they tried to fix it with lead. So we're going to have to figure out something with that. And then also started grinding this down and found a boatload of Bondo. So we got some tools coming to hopefully remove that as best as possible. And then I think we got another dent down here somewhere. Yeah, right here. There's another little dent right there that we're going to try and get out of it. But we're going to sand this guy down and see if we can get it to look pretty decent. And then we'll attach the wing back on here. And then we're going to put another rod along here to Zeus the back of the deck lid there. And then up around the sides. So, yeah, that's a little update on where we're at with this thing. It's on the ground. It rolls. It's getting there. So we'll just keep plugging away at it and keep doing the small little details on it and go from there. But hopefully we'll have another video up here on that rear deck lid area, and we'll get that finished up, and then we'll start working on the steering column and just keep plugging away. So thank you for tuning in. Drop a like, comment, share. Tell me what you think. Give me some advice on different areas that you might think you would do a little different. I love hearing new ideas and what people would do different, because I'm always trying to learn, always trying to better myself and have better ideas. And any input is always welcome. So, yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, it's coming along. It's turned out to be a badass little car. All right, thanks, guys.